fentanyl has impacted my whole life, basically. Because I've dealt with it myself and I've lost many people to it. I recently just started my journey of recovery, I'd say. I've never really took the full initiative or tried to start my recovery because it's been a really, really hard thing for me, but I've always told myself that once I finally do and I get past the worst stages, which is the body aching, the withdrawing, the mental state, all of that, then I'm never going back to it. Never again. It's just you feel like you're dying, your whole body hurts. It feels like your guts are being ripped out of you, and it's horrible. Anything you could think of, it's worse than that. It's pretty much behind me. It's more of a mental thing now. It's kind of challenging, but not as hard as I thought it would be. But it was pretty horrible having to go through the withdrawals. A lot of people don't realize that one of the main reason people keep doing the drug is because it just it hooks you on there, and the hardest thing to do is to quit. For a little over 2 years. None of my family really knows that because I actually got clean one time before I got pregnant with my son is when I started using. The first time I ever tried it, my cousin told me that it was like a Xanax because I was trying the perks, the perk 30s, and I was told by him and another person that it was just like a Xanax and that it wouldn't do nothing to me, and I literally never stopped after that. I couldn't. I got hooked right away. In 2 hours after trying it the first time, I already started feeling I could feel a difference in myself, the cravings. It's crazy. The minute I found out I was pregnant, I was smoking marijuana, and I vaped, cigarettes, tobacco, all of it. Hit the withdrawals head on, done. The minute that I found out, I stopped everything. It was pretty hard, but like I said, it's more of a mental thing if you think about it, because for me, I wasn't doing it for myself. I was doing it for this little life that I created, that it was my fault that it was happening, kids don't choose to be born, you are, I don't want to say mistakes, but from your parents, past or whatever, right, not planned. So I put it as this is my fault, and I'm going to deal with it, and I'm not going to do the same thing to my kid that happened to me. I grew up around everybody using, not fentanyl, but because obviously it wasn't like that, but any memories I can think of when I was little, it all makes sense when I get older, why certain aunts and uncles were acting certain ways. My life was full of addiction, everyone around me. It's all I ever knew. So I didn't want that for my son. So I decided to do it for him instead of myself, which everyone's all you need to do it for you or you're not doing it right at all. But I feel that's not, you have to have something that makes you want to do it, do right. And my son is that for me. And him having a good mother, a good role model, because his father passed away from fentanyl, actually. So I wanted to show him that he still had someone that he could look up to, even if I'm did all that fucked up stuff and messed my life up, that you could still do better no matter what.
Right.
My baby daddy and me moved out to Topeka. Well, we were going to Kansas City on the weekends and leaving my son with my dad. And we started using again, but it was well, this is what we said to make ourselves feel better about it, I feel like. It was our weekend drug, but it's not just a weekend drug. It you don't notice it. I didn't notice until now. It was slowly taking over my life. I started wanting to go to Kansas City more and leaving my son with my mom and my dad, because I would rather him in that environment, than traveling back down the path that I tried so hard to get myself away from. But It is what it is. I messed up. Me and my baby daddy started using again in about 4 months. My son was 4 months old. My baby daddy passed away from fentanyl, and I actually was the one that found him. I woke up and he was on the floor, already gone. It was so messed up. Me and him were actually staying at his sister's apartment because she was away seeing her mom with her daughter. So when we came into town, she let us come and stay at her apartment. And I didn't know the address. I banged on every apartment door in that complex and nobody answered. I was yelling, saying I needed the cops to come, that my baby daddy was in the other room and I didn't know if he was alive or dead or not. And nobody answered. I had to run across the street, and then a neighbor answered, and she asked if she told him the address. I gave her the phone. She did everything. She gave the cops the address. I explained to her what happened. Like, she made it, wasn't easy, but she made it better, like helped with it. And she asked me if I wanted her to come with me to see if she could check on my baby daddy, because she was a nurse. And she could at least tell me if he was breathing or try to help or something. Like, she didn't just want to let me go back. And at the time, my little cousin, she was 10 years old. She was also staying with us, but she was asleep in the living room. She didn't really know what was going on. I told her to stay out, not to go in the room. I came back, and she was in the room with him. And she was crying, and she was trying to help him. So I had her come out, and I let the lady go in, and as she comes out, I hear the sirens, and she was like, "You need to go say bye. They're not gonna let you." And I was like, "What?" And she told me he was gone. And right as I walked in and I got to say, sat there with him, the ambulance came in. They didn't do nothing. They looked at him and they said he's been gone, and there's no use in even trying. It's just gonna hurt you more to give you false hope and whatever they thought, to make them look better. They didn't try at all. They didn't do chest compressions. They didn't, nothing. They felt his pulse and put him in the bag. Then the last time I saw him before the funeral was when they were carrying him out on the stretcher in the body bag. And by that time, his mom was there, his sister, his little brother. I had to tell them all that he was gone. For a few months, I was clean. I found a pill in my car and threw it out the window. Thinking back to it now, I can't believe I did that. I was so bad and stuck in my addiction that I cannot believe that I even had it in me to get rid of it, but I did, and I stayed clean for about 3.5 months, because after his 3rd month at his gravesite that we threw it, everybody went home to my uncle's and we were all drinking, being sad, crying it out, and I went to my older sister, and she was in leading on to the worst parts of her addiction. And I relapsed with her. And I didn't tell nobody. I didn't even tell her. I lied to her, and I told her that I was sick because I've been doing it, and I needed some because I knew that she wouldn't just give it to me and be the cause of my relapse, because no matter what, even in her worst part of addiction, she didn't want to bring me down with her. And that day, it was just a spiral from there. I did that. Then I went and I got real perk 5s, and I did 4 of them. And from that on, it was just straight, going straight head on in it. So I just gave up. I was like, there's no hope. There's no breaking the cycle. So I just threw myself into numbing the pain by using drugs like everybody else does. My past is not something I'm ashamed of, I'll say, but like it's definitely not something I'm very proud of. Like the first time, like my first like time even dabbling with drugs was way before that. Way before fentanyl was even a thing. I was like 12 years old smoking and selling weed. It was long coming for me. Like I did what I knew, what I was around, what I grew up from, what I heard of. Like, I know I'm not dumb. I know who my dad was, the person he used to be, and people talk about street cred and stuff like that, and my dad had a lot of it. But he used that as an example of exactly what he didn't want us to be, but I kind of took it in the wrong way, and I learned from his mistakes. Not really, he doesn't even know it. He's probably gonna be like, what the fuck when he sees this? But I actually got a respect for myself and from his past accomplishments. I'm very known in the not so good part of Kansas City, Kansas. It's not something I'm proud of. I've got a couple stupid things that I wish I would have never done, like all the gang tattoos and riding in stolos and stealing stuff and stuff like that, bad, but it's something that I put behind me, that I like to think of it and look back at it as something that I never want to do again. I never want to bring myself back down to that level that I was on. Because even though I'm only to be honest, I'm only 13 days clean. But I feel like I took the initiative and I took that step myself. So I'm going to keep building myself up. And I know that I can be better than the person I was. It's just going to take time. But to this day now, I still have people still trying to contact me and drag me back to where I was. But I just look at it as something that's exactly what I don't want to do. That people messaging me, trying to act like they care, act like they want better for me, but at the same time, they're the exact same people that were dragging me down and making, glorifying my actions. Say, oh, it's okay. You deserve to feel that way and act that way. You just lost your baby daddy, your aunt, and your sister all in 2 years. You should be able to do what you want. No. People should not, I feel like the worst thing people do is make it okay for people who just lost someone to fuck up, to do worse, to keep, it's okay. She just lost her sister. Let her go do drugs and fuck up and probably be the next one. I feel like that's that's so dumb. And that's exactly what everyone does. It feels good to be alive. And not have to constantly think of the next high, making sure that you're not going to be sick and withdrawing. Yes, you got to go through it, but the best feeling ever is being able to say that even though I'm newly into it, that you got past addiction and that you're trying. And it just feels so much better, everything about it. You wake up, yeah, you got shit going on in your life that's not good. There's things to be sad about, but it's also, at least you're alive and you know you're not risking your life. Tomorrow's promised now. A few weeks ago, tomorrow wasn't promised for me. And it feels good to know that I did that, and that I achieved that. Something that I never thought. I never really thought, I don't know, if I thought I was just gonna die or just be a drug addict my whole life, but I didn't think about how it was going to end, and I feel like that's the problem with a lot of people is they don't think about how it's going to end for them, you know? I'd like to help other people. Like, my dad brought it up being I don't know what it's called, a drug counselor or something like that. It's just easier to help other people when you have personally been through what they've been through and can understand on like a different level, because that's one of the reasons I really never looked or reached out for help, is because I always felt like you've never been in my shoes, you haven't been through what I've been through, and you haven't felt what I felt, so you're not going to be able to help me. And when you have your own story to share, like yourself, but there's a happy ending to it. Like, you get to tell them that, like, you got out of it, you fought your addiction and you won, like, you beat it, and it is, like, it's possible. Because a lot, like, I never thought that, I'd say, you know, like, I want to get clean, or I'm gonna stop doing drugs by next week, or I'm not gonna do it no more, but, like, in reality, I didn't really think that. I said it to make other people happy, to make my family happier, and like hopes of that they believed me, but I was just lying to myself. If you can't find it in yourself to want to change and do better for yourself, do it for the people that love you, because it affects them so much more than you'll ever know. It affects them more than it affects you, because you're just hiding your grief and your sadness and whatever you're dealing with, you're just covering it and doing drugs, using the drugs to push it to the side. Everybody else doesn't have that to make them feel better. When I was in addiction, I didn't care, really. Like, I say, like, yeah, I cared how people looked at me. But I would be like, I don't care how they feel. That's them. That ain't me, and that's not my problem. Me, I would have never done that to my family. Like, if I could go back in time, I know a lot of people say this, I would, and like, I would change so much. But I can't, so that's why I'm changing now and doing better now. Yeah, I'd like to be doing better, but I'm doing all right. Pretty good to what I was, because if you would have seen me a few weeks ago, you'd probably been like, what the f***, get this crackhead out of here. Because, like, through my addiction from fentanyl, it also led me to a lot of other stuff and opened up a lot of other bad, like, doorways for me. I tried a lot of different things. Like, I didn't only get addicted to fentanyl, it just sparked my addiction for drugs, period. Just anything to numb the pain. But like I said, you're only numbing your pain. You got to care about the people around you. When I first started doing it, the dirty 30s, that's what they call them, they were more common. Like, everybody was doing them. Like, you'd be surprised. People like those one honor roll students, cheerleaders, you'd never think they'd do anything bad in their life, and they're so perfect and wouldn't even smoke weed. They're all doing it. Everybody. Like, you are what you're surrounded by, like I said. You want to impress other people. You want to make yourself look cooler, so you're just going to try shit without even thinking about it. Like, and after that, I did the pills for about a year and a half, but then it wasn't enough for me. I wasn't getting high no more. It was taking the withdrawals away, but I wasn't really doing it for that. I was doing it to get high, to not have to think about anything, to just like be there, but basically gone, not there. And I started doing straight fentanyl, which comes in they call it powder, or it comes in like rock, like kind of like crystals, but not really, like a powdery crystal. And that's how I started doing it, and that's what brought the worst out in me. Like, it was horrible. That's when I knew, like, I'm an addict. And that I had a problem. And and the worst part was, like, I didn't care. I didn't care at all. Like, it took me losing 3 people But I'm finally realizing that, like, I gotta stop and I gotta do better. Because I do not want my dad to... He's almost lost his shit over my sister. If he loses one more kid, he's gonna lose his... He's crazy. He's losing his shit. My mom, she holds herself together very, very good. Very good. Like, she holds herself together for her and my dad. And I couldn't imagine making them go through that again. Like, having my family feel the way that I felt. Like, my little sisters, my little brother, like, my big brother losing another sibling. Because, yes, I lost my baby daddy. I lost my aunt. But that was my best friend. Like, she was my everything. Me and her, like, she was basically like my twin. We were only about 1.5 years apart. So we did everything together. Matching clothes all the time since when we were toddlers. Like, everything. She's my best friend.